and welcome to my channel. Today I'm presenting my March favorites. Most of these things I have bought recently, but some are older favorites that I recently rediscovered or that I just used a lot in the past couple of weeks. So I thought we could make this a regular thing. I did my winter favorite video, but I like putting things on my face more. I always like watching other people do that, so that's what we're going to do. And I have some highlights here, like the new Dior foundation, which was definitely a favorite. You might be surprised after seeing my review, but I found out that using the proper powder it's actually perfect. Of course, the new bronzer is a favorite. For eyeshadow, I really love the McGrath Divine Rose palette, but I did buy that in February. So I figured the Lethal Cosmetics After Dark palette would be a little bit more appropriate. So that's just some of the highlights, and let's get right into it. If you're new here, I'm so happy you found my video. I hope you stay and subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, please enjoy the video and let's get into it. So like I said, we're going to use the Lethal Cosmetics After Dark palette. And I did a couple of looks off camera with this one, using mainly the pink shades. And then the look I did in my first impressions video was more of a blue-purple look. So I thought we could do an all cool toned look. So using mainly the lavender and the purple and then these cool toned shimmer shades. Which seems like the obvious choice, but I haven't done that yet. So that's what we're going to do. I'm priming my eyes with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Eye Primer. Since this foundation I'm going to use is very glowy, I like to put just a little bit of the remainder of my eye primer on my nose. Because eye primers, especially like this one from Anastasia Beverly Hills, are supposed to keep oils at bay. And I found that the foundation didn't look as nice on my nose as the day went on. So that's just something I like to do whenever a foundation is a little bit too glowy for me. I do have normal skin, but still, here and here it does get a little bit oily. I'll zoom you in a little bit more. I'm going to start with the darkest color because I found that this dark purple is actually not that dark. I don't want to lose any of the intensity. So I'm just going to put this in the outer V and then bring it into the crease a little bit. So I used quite a bit of new stuff this month, and I found some of my most loved and most hated new products. So quite recently I tried some new Essence stuff, and some of it was great and some of it was really quite bad. Because I had such good luck with drugstore palettes recently that I was starting to think that maybe all drugstore products were always good. But I guess they aren't always good, just as high-end and luxury products aren't always worth the money. And I should have known that. I'm just going to do the lower lash line at the same time. If you're careful when applying your foundation and concealer, this really shouldn't be a problem. So now I'm taking the lavender shade with the same brush and I'm just going to blend out the edges. And I'm using my pencil brush again in an attempt to not bring this all the way up to my eyebrow as I always do. And I think it's working. And I'm also going to blend out the lower lash line with this color. I think that looks nice. Now I'm going to apply a little bit of NYX glitter primer. I know there are some people that do this all the time when they use shimmers. I don't find that to be necessary all the time. But with these shimmers from Lethal, it does appear to be making quite the difference. It's not necessary, but well, it is my favorite way of applying them. So I'm using this slightly fluffy packing brush. I'm going to see how it performs with this brush. And I'm going into the lavender sparkle over here. This is really the reason I bought this palette, was for this shade. And I'm not disappointed. There is a lavender base to this and then there's a blue shift. So I guess you could call it a duochrome. And using a slightly more fluffy brush makes it easier to blend out the edges once you've applied the shadow. And now I'm going into the metallic silver, which looks like a white but is really more of a silver. And I'm going to put that in the inner part of the lid and in the inner corner. And next to these purples, it actually shifts like a little bit of a purple. So I may need to intensify the inner corner shade later, but for now this is what it looks like. And I really like this. I like purple eyeshadow. I did get a bit of fallout, but that's okay, that was what I was expecting. For eyeliners, I've been really loving these two pastel eyeliners from LA Girl. I have the pink and the blue. And I think for this look, the blue one will be okay. I'm just going to finish up the eyes. I did the lower lash line, so that's okay. And these are actually fantastic eyeliners. I want to buy all the shades. I really would like to have a pastel yellow eyeliner. I think that would be kind of cool. This blue is pretty with the purple. And I don't think I want to wear lashes today, but I would like to mention my favorite lashes of this month. And these were the Like a Boss, Lash Like a Boss lashes in the shade number 2 Unique. These are from Essence. And these are really high quality. So they feel quite comfortable, even though they are quite big. And they're dramatic. I mean, you've got some lashes on when you're wearing these. I mentioned that I felt like a bird with them, but that could have also been the blue eyeshadow I was wearing. So this is what they look like, and they have this 3D effect, which is really pretty. I'm just not in the mood for lashes today. So instead I'm going straight into mascara, and I have this new Catrice mascara, which is the Lift Up. I've only been wearing this for a couple of days, but it's already a favorite. I'm just going to show you quickly. This is one normal coat. Then I always like to go on top and swirl. And that's when you get some intense drama with this mascara. To a point where it's almost too clumpy. But very nice and dramatic. Do you see that? And it works great on the lower lash line as well. So that's one thick layer. And look at the drama. So this is supposed to be a lifting mascara. I think it's mainly a volumizing one. But this mascara gives you that, what she called, twiggy effect. So with the very defined and thick lower lash line. And I'm kind of here for it. So I like to go in with a second coat, just on the lower lash line. And that's what it looks like. I really like this. I've never owned a mascara that could do this. That could define and volumize my lower lash lines this well. So for a non-lash day, I like to use this mascara. Now let's get into the face. I'll zoom you out a little bit. For primer, I've really been loving my L'or Radiance primer again. I ordered this a lot in February as well, but I like using this with more glowy foundations, or at least less matte foundations, because this really provides excellent grip. So it's also a little bit glowy, but its main perk is that it grips onto your foundation like nothing else that I've ever used. So it becomes a little bit glowy first, and then it feels kind of tacky. And I found that when I use a too matte full coverage foundation like the Huda one, this is really not the primer you want to use. But with a foundation like the new Dior Forever Natural Nude foundation, it's perfect. Just bumping some out. So this is my favorite foundation of this month. I also love this packaging. That's kind of a part of the reason I bought it. This is the color. This is 1N. I wish I had 0N. That's my one complaint really at this point. All my foundations are just a little bit too dark for me at the moment. So I just apply this with a brush. And you can immediately notice, because of the primer I used, that it spreads a little bit less far. Which is good, because I thought it was a little bit too liquidy. Or what, like, it's not that liquidy, it's just, it was moving around a little bit too much for my liking. So this is what the foundation looks like. Blends out very easily, and you can immediately see it's very glowy. And this is how it remains. On some people it actually gets a lot more glowy than this. On me it sort of stays like this. Unless I set it, then it remains a little bit more matte. That's a buyer's warning. On some people, I've seen it get like really greasy on people after about 10 hours. This foundation is supposed to last 24 hours with hydration. I don't like it for more than 8. Yeah, I guess that's the mark for me. That's when it really starts to fade around my nose and my chin. But again, when I set it with powder, it's a little bit better. For concealer, I've been loving my Pat McGrath concealer. I've been trying some other concealers, like the Catrice one in my recent video. There's just nothing that compares to this one. The color is excellent. The coverage is high, but it's very blendable. And I always use too much. I guess every time I use a different concealer, I forget how little you have to use with this one. Now I have two powders that were my favorite this month. I discovered the Essence Brighten Up Banana Powder, which is a light powder. I wouldn't use this to set down such a glowy foundation because I feel like a loose powder will get the job done much quicker and with far less product. So for that, for those occasions, I've been loving my Givenchy loose powder. I have it in the shade Mousseline Pastel, which is the lightest shade. And this is one of those 4 colored powders. So it's color correcting. And it's very light and very mattifying. I don't use that much of this. I just put some in the cap and then swirl together. Really tap off my brush and then I set down, well, everything. And I find that using this powder, it mattifies enough, but as you can see, it leaves a little bit of glow. Sort of a natural matte. But it takes away that excessive shine that all the other products leave. There's also other shades. I already owned the Voile Rosé, which is the pink version. And I've been loving that one as well. But recently it's been all about this one. I guess I'm lazy and I'm using the same brush to blend out the eyeshadow. That's the only downside to doing your eyes first. You always have to blend these edges again. But powder really is the perfect way to do that. I think for people with a little bit darker or a lot darker skin, this really is a brightening powder. So I would advise those people to only use this on highlighted areas of the face. I can get away with using it all over, especially if my foundation is a little bit too dark. It comes with the little applicator, but when you use that, the powder comes out in the Givenchy logo, and I've seen people use this on camera and they have this logo stuck to their face, so I wouldn't do that. Alright, quick eyebrows. I've actually finished up my Dior Pump and Brow, which is my forever favorite. It's actually going to be one of the first products I repurchase. I always lasted very long with all my products, but since I've been doing my makeup almost every day for the past couple of months, I've really been going through my products very quickly. So my current favorite is this this Lancôme powder, which is the Brow Densify Powder to Cream in the shade 2 Blonde. And this shade is actually more of a taupe, so it's quite dark. And the great thing about this is that you can use the little spatula to sort of comb through your brows and push them up a little bit. So even though it doesn't have a spoolie, it does sort of have a spoolie effect. And then the powder becomes like a cream. And then you can go through with an actual spoolie and change the shape a little bit more. I really find this a genius product. It's so quick, and you get a brow pencil and brow gel in one. So I usually just leave it like this, but I've been also loving using my clear brow gel. This is the NYX Control Freak. Just to go through. Just to give a little bit extra oomph to them. And there, quick and easy. Alright, now I had another lethal... Oh wait, no. Go back. We have bronzer. I was going straight into blush, but we have this Dior bronzer. This recently came out in the United States, but it was already available in Europe a little bit earlier, so I even got it on a sale. I have the shade 410 Bronze, and you'd say this was too dark for me because there are at least 8 shades. People say 10, I've only seen 8. And only shade 4 and 1 and deeper shades were available at Douglas when I bought this. And shade 1 almost seemed like a face shade for me, like sort of this color. The color of the foundation I'm using. So I didn't think that would show up on me. So I took a gamble and I chose shade 4. And it worked out. It's great. Because this is a very light and an airy bronzer. I'll show you. See, the pigmentation is not enormous right away. So I've seen people that are a little bit deeper than I am use even deeper shades, like shade 5 and up, and I see the exact same thing. It's just not too much. And it does build, so if you are a little bit deeper but you want to keep your bronze a little bit more close to your skin tone, this does build. And it builds so beautifully. And I said in the video where I reviewed these products from Dior that it actually also works on top of unset foundation. So it's so light and fine that it actually works as a dark setting powder. So if you don't like to set your face, that shouldn't be an issue. And this color for me is exactly right. Because shade 1 was also very orange. And I find the same thing with the Charlotte Tilbury light bronzer. That I just don't like that shade on me. I like it to be a little bit more neutral. So this is perfect. And the packaging is so pretty. And it should be refillable. There is a little hole here. I haven't seen any refills yet, but they could very well be in the future. So now we're going into blush. And I bought this face palette from Lethal this month. And this palette as a whole is a favorite. I bought it in the shade Boreale, which is the lightest of the 4. And I like all of these products. And I've used them all together, but since we already had the Dior bronzer, I thought I'd skip this one. But I just had to show you these two. And now that I think about it, this blush really doesn't match my eye look. So I'm going to skip this palette for now, but know that it was a definite favorite this month for me. So instead I'm going to use my Shiseido blush in number 4 Aura Pink, which is a cool toned pink. Which is the thing I always use, or nearly always use, when I'm wearing cool toned eyeshadows. And this is always a favorite, so it counts. Then I would use the Lethal highlighter, but I have to mention this one. And I will use this one. This is the Dior Luminizer. This is not new, but it was new to me this month. I bought it early in the month, I think, or late in the month before. And I have it in the shade 2, which is pink. And I just love this highlighter. It's so pretty. I'll show you. Do you see what a nice glow this gives? It's not too metallic, but it is visible. So I feel like this is not really natural, but not like glowing to the gods either. It's the perfect in-between. And I feel like you can build and build this one. And it will get a little bit more intense, but it will never get too much. Then I just like to go over with my powder brush. Because I always go a little bit crazy around the pore area. And And I often use my Hourglass powder for this, but I think that's not necessary today. Now I have a couple of new lipsticks this month, mainly from Charlotte Tilbury. And I guess you could say that Charlotte Tilbury is my favorite lipstick brand of the month. I have this shade called Secret Salma, which is new, and I could use this one. And then I got this as a present for my mom, both of these. This is the shade Patsy Red, which is beautiful, but it's just not going to match today's look. And I guess I always use the shade Lift It Up. I'm actually quite far down at this, with this one. Let me check. Do you see how much I've used? I didn't realize. So for today's look, I kind of want to use Lift It Up again. And I'm going to use my MAC lip liner with it in the shade Rosy Rim. Because this really brings out the pink in any lipstick. Look, these are a perfect match. Oh, I want to show you another favorite, but it just didn't match this look, is the Rouge Allure Lac from Chanel. I have it in the shade 65, and it's more of a peachy color. And I really like these, so had to mention that. And that's it for the finished look. I really like this purple eyeshadow. It looks a little bit like the look I did with the Catrice palette, but I like these eyeshadows just a little bit better. And I think the shimmers are just a little bit more intense, but you can get a very similar look with that palette, I'm sure. Wait, let me show you. So this is the Lavender Breeze palette. And I couldn't include this because I really like the Lethal palette a lot more. But this is pretty nice. I've only used it once, but I had a pretty okay experience. So that's it for today's video. Please consider subscribing to my channel. I would love it to see you again. And if not, that's also fine. Maybe I'll see you in another video. Bye!